Welcome to the debate. What if the 20 minutes you spent, getting ready in front of the mirror this morning is the exact reason humanity has been spiritually degrading for millennia?
Yeah, it is a really jarring thought. I mean, we look at adjusting a collar or fixing our hair or applying makeup as just basic, undeniable maintenance.
Exactly. But the source material we are examining today treats that morning routine not as a mundane chore, but as a precise diagnostic tool for the state of human consciousness.
Right.
We are diving into a spiritual text that presents a stark contrast between the consciousness of Satyuga, the Golden Age, and the consciousness of Kaliyuga, the Iron Age, and it uses human behavior around aesthetics and physical adornment as a primary indicator of where we fall on that spectrum.
Yeah, it really does.
So, the central question we are exploring today is whether modern fashion inherently hinders our spiritual progress, as the text heavily implies, or whether it can be understood as a natural, evolving form of human and cultural expression.
Well, I come at it from a different way. My position is that the text's own examples regarding fashion and societal growth actually demonstrate humanity's natural drive for expression, for comfort or sukh, and even for the emulation of profound cultural and divine archetypes.
And my position is that the source text exposes fashion as a symptom of pervasive body consciousness. It is a trap that calcifies the intellect, distracts it from the soul's divine purpose, and moves us entirely away from true natural beauty.
Okay, but
Look at what the text actually says, right? It warns that our intellects wander all day toward this stuff. The sheer amount of effort and financial expenditure people dedicate to achieving what it explicitly terms artificial beauty is staggering.
it is a lot of effort, sure.
It is. But to really grasp this, we have to look at the mechanics of Patparburdi. The text diagnoses the current era as being driven by a stone intellect. And this isn't, a metaphor or a casual insult.
Right, it has a specific meaning in the text.
Exactly. It is a specific claim about a degraded state of awareness where the mind becomes literally anchored to dense material reality. Every time you obsess over your physical adornment, you are binding your self-worth to decaying matter.
Wow. Decaying matter?
Yes, vanity in this framework is a profound ontological trap. True spiritual progression requires aiming for the natural beauty of Satyuga, where artificial fashion is entirely obsolete. And why? Because the innate purity of the soul radiates outwardly without any material intervention at all.
Okay, but you're analyzing modern fashion in a total vacuum. You are completely ignoring the broader context of human development that the material itself brings up.
How so?
Well, the text acknowledges that science has achieved tremendous growth and has brought immense sukh, comfort and happiness to humanity. Fashion and physical adornment are inextricably linked to this trajectory of human progress.
I mean, comfort is one thing.
But we cannot just dismiss that comfort as a trap. Furthermore, look at the specific example the material gives regarding the origins of these aesthetic practices.
You mean the pictures?
Yes, it points out that people learn to style their hair and adorn themselves by imitating pictures of ancient deities, specifically mentioning the goddess Parvati.
Right, which it criticizes.
But I don't see this as a degraded Partharbuvi. I see a deeply human attempt to emulate the divine. It is a way for people to participate in the cultural lineage of the deities of Bharat.
Emulate the divine by doing your hair?
When someone styles themselves after a divine figure, they are reaching for a connection to that archetype. They are trying to bring a tangible sense of meaning to their physical existence.
Well, I'm not convinced by that line of reasoning because it fundamentally misunderstands how alchemical and spiritual transformation works in this text.
Okay.
You are suggesting that this imitation is a form of reverence, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But let me ask you this. Is dressing up like a deity to feel spiritual akin to painting a stone gold and expecting it to become a touchstone?
Well,
Because the text deliberately contrasts the Partabhuti, the stone intellect, with the Parsabhuti, the touchstone intellect. A touchstone actually transforms base metals into gold upon contact.
right, it changes the nature of the thing.
Exactly. It changes the fundamental molecular reality of what it touches. Painting a stone gold, which is exactly what artificial fashion does, is purely superficial. It doesn't change the underlying dense material. It just masks it.
I see what you were saying, but
By imitating the outward appearance of deities in pictures, people are just engaging in the creation of artificial beauty. This doesn't elevate the intellect, it traps it. The emulation is entirely exterior. And that exterior fixation is the textbook definition of body consciousness.
you can call it painting a stone gold all you want, but you're ignoring the fact that human beings are not pure, disembodied intellects floating in a void.
We are souls, though.
Yes, but we process meaning through our senses. The very fact that people in Kaliyuga look to ancient depictions of Parvati to guide their aesthetic choices proves that the spiritual yearning is still completely intact.
Intact but misguided.
The intellect hasn't forgotten the divine. It is just expressing that memory through the only tools available to it in a material world. If you completely dismiss physical adornment as a trap, you ignore the deeply ingrained human need for ritual and tangible connection.
I don't deny the yearning is real. What I am saying is that the methodology physical adornment is inherently counterproductive.
How is it counterproductive to seek connection?
Because it takes a spiritual yearning and anchors it to the flesh. Every time the soul identifies with the reflection in the mirror, it writes a line of code into its consciousness that says, I am matter. It reinforces a false identification.
Let's test that idea against the history the text provides. Because if you think a modern dress or a tailored suit is a spiritual trap, look at how we used to handle physical appearance.
You are bringing up the veils.
Yes, the material explicitly brings up the historical practice of Parsi women wearing the Kali Jali, the black net, over their faces to prevent others from becoming infatuated. This was an extreme form of concealment.
It was.
Now compare that historical Kali Jali to modern fashion. I argue that modern fashion represents an evolution away from fear-based suppression. Covering the face with a black net is driven by a terrified obsession with the physical form and human reaction.
Okay.
Modern aesthetics, moving alongside the scientific growth the text mentions, represent a more open, comfortable human expression. It is a move away from hiding in shame toward existing comfortably in your own skin.
That's an interesting point, though. I would frame it differently. You think the Kali Jali and the modern runway are opposites, but they are the exact same prison, just with different wallpaper.
Wait, what? How can hiding the body and celebrating the body be the exact same prison? They are diametrically opposed behaviors.
They are opposed in aesthetic methodology, sure, but they share the exact same underlying premise. They both bow to the dictator of the flesh.
I don't follow.
Well, whether you hide the face out of terror that someone will become infatuated, or you design modern fashion specifically to invite that infatuation, you are acknowledging that the physical form is the ultimate source of value and power.
Ah, I see.
Both the Kali Jali and the runway are entirely obsessed with the body. True Paraspadi doesn't mean finding a more liberated style of fashion, and it doesn't mean enforcing strict veils.
Then what does it mean?
It means returning to a state of natural beauty, where neither artificial enhancement nor fearful concealment even occurs to you, because the intellect is no longer tethered to physical infatuation at all.
But think about the real world for a second. If you are listening to this on your morning commute wearing a suit or a carefully curated outfit for work, you are probably thinking, I am not bowing to the dictator of the flesh. I am projecting competence. I am navigating society.
But that projection is still physical.
Right. But the qualitative experience of living in a society that allows for self-expression through fashion is fundamentally healthier than living in a society driven by the fear of infatuation. The text admits science has suk, right?
It does, yes.
Part of that suk is psychological. It is the freedom to exist without the Kali Jali, to use clothing to signal professionalism, creativity, or identity. You are treating all physical management as vanity, but a lot of it is just the necessary language of human interaction.
But that psychological comfort is exactly what the text warns about. Comfort is not synonymous with spiritual elevation.
It doesn't mean it's bad, though.
The text is incredibly precise in distinguishing between the temporary suk of scientific advancement and the eternal, pure state of the soul. When you say clothing is the necessary language of human interaction, you are proving the text's ultimate philosophical distinction.
Which is?
We have confused the body for the actor.
I disagree. We haven't confused anything. We are just operating the machinery we were given.
No, we have entirely lost the plot of who is operating the machinery. The core thesis of this material is that praising the body, obsessing over it, or even just accepting it as your primary identity is body consciousness.
Okay.
The text makes a brilliant, practical point to illustrate this. It notes that it is the soul that holds high secular offices. It specifically says the soul becomes a president.
Right. I remember that part.
But in Kaliyuga, what do? We attribute the presidency, the power and the prestige to the physical human being, the suit they wear, the face on the television.
Naturally.
The text strips that illusion away and demands that the intellect recognize the soul as the actor simply playing the role of the president. When you focus entirely on the physical form of the president, or your own physical reflection in the mirror, you degrade the soul.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that. Let me tell you why.
Go ahead.
You are presenting a framework where tending to the physical form is inherently a betrayal of the soul's purity, but you are glossing over a massive, completely unavoidable concession that the text itself makes.
Which concession?
The material directly states the soul must surely adopt a body. How would souls speak or listen without a body?
Well, that is a statement of mechanical necessity. It is not an endorsement of fashion.
But it establishes a necessary functional partnership. If the body is the absolute unavoidable vessel for the soul's expression in this world, if the soul literally cannot communicate, speak, or listen without it, then the body is not merely a trap.
It's an instrument.
Exactly. It is an instrument. And tending to an instrument, adorning it, maintaining it, and utilizing the sook of science to make that existence bearable are logical requirements of the human experience.
I hear you, but
If the soul needs the body to act as a president or to speak truth, then acknowledging the body's presence through aesthetics doesn't negate the soul. It celebrates the vessel that makes the soul's earthly journey possible.
it is exactly like a monarch who becomes so obsessed with the architecture and the interior decorating of the palace that they completely forget how to rule the kingdom. Yes, the monarch needs a palace to govern from. The text does not deny that the soul needs a body to speak or listen. But what happens when the intellect wanders all day toward the polish of the floors and the gold on the walls?
Well, they become a caretaker instead of a ruler.
Exactly. And that is the exact mechanism of the 84-birth cycle the text introduces. The text doesn't just say we magically woke up one day with a pather booty.
Right. It's a process.
It describes a slow, agonizing trajectory of amnesia over 84 births. We started out in Satyuga knowing we were the soul ruling the kingdom, but over time, through repeated exposure to the material world, we started looking in the mirror.
And reacting to what we saw.
Soul, that false code compiled. Over 84 lifetimes, that code hardens into a stone intellect.
A stone intellect?
The soul forgets its eternity. It binds its self-worth to temporary, decaying matter. We forgot how to rule the kingdom and obsessed over the palace architecture. Letting go of artificial fashion isn't about hating the body. It is the necessary unprogramming required to return to the natural beauty of the soul.
That monarch analogy is clever, but I argue that maintaining the palace is part of ruling the kingdom, especially if you have to live in it for 84 lifetimes.
Is it, though?
Let's look closely at the mechanism of this 84 birth cycle. You view it strictly as a trajectory of amnesia and degradation. But if the soul must repeatedly take birth, entering into denser and more challenging material circumstances over time, it naturally seeks to master and beautify its physical environment as a resilient adaptation.
Adaptation to what?
To a harsher world? The human drive to create artificial beauty, to innovate in fashion, to style hair like Parvati, is an application of scientific and creative growth to survive the descent. It is humanity attempting to bring order and comfort to a physical existence that, frankly, becomes harsher as we move into Kaliyuga.
But the joy and order you are describing are inherently transient, which is why the intellect remains trapped.
Transient, yes, but necessary.
The sook of the material world requires constant, exhausting maintenance. Fashions change, bodies age, the palace crumbles. The intellect is forced to constantly wander outward to fix it.
Well, yeah,
The material world's sukh is inextricably bound to its dukh, its sorrow. You call it a resilient adaptation. The text calls it a treadmill of suffering. True natural beauty in Satyuga doesn't require maintenance because it is the inherent state of a pure soul. There is no anxiety about losing it, which means the intellect is finally free to rest.
Look, I understand the distinction between the transient and the eternal, but we have to grapple with the reality of where humanity currently resides.
Sure,
We don't have access to that effortless, natural beauty right now. Therefore, the attempts we make to adorn ourselves, to find comfort, to express our identities through fashion, are not necessarily failures of intellect. We use what we have.
I just think that's settling.
If a person finds a moment of dignity or a cultural connection or even just a burst of confidence by adopting a certain aesthetic, it seems remarkably cynical to dismiss that entire human experience as mere path or booty.
The text isn't cynical, it's clinical. The stakes are the ultimate trajectory of human consciousness. To compromise and say, well, we don't have access to natural beauty, so we might as well embrace the runway, is to abandon the pursuit of Satyuga entirely.
I wouldn't call it abandoning.
The text is a radical call to awaken the intellect, to transition it back from stone to touchstone. It demands that we ruthlessly interrogate the motives behind our behaviors. When you put on that curated outfit for your commute, are you operating as a soul utilizing an instrument, or has the instrument entirely hijacked your sense of self?
And that interrogation is where I think the true, undeniable value of this source material lies, even if a listener doesn't accept every premise about the alchemical degradation of consciousness over 84 births.
Right.
The text forces an incredible level of mindfulness about our daily actions. When I defend fashion as natural expression, I am not defending mindless consumerism or vanity. I am defending the human capacity for aesthetic joy and cultural participation.
That makes sense.
But I absolutely concede your point and the text's core diagnostic that the danger of the intellect wandering all day toward these superficial pursuits is a lethal threat to modern psychological and spiritual health.
It is a threat that demands a fundamental reevaluation of our identity. So as we wrap up this discussion, I want to summarize the core of my perspective, based on the source text.
Go ahead.
While the material acknowledges the functional reality that souls must adopt a body to speak and listen, it unequivocally warns that elevating physical aesthetics and artificial beauty traps our awareness. It downgrades the consciousness into a pather buddhi.
Right.
Breaking the amnesia built up over 84 births requires recognizing that it is the soul that acts, whether as a president or an ordinary citizen. True spiritual progress is letting go of the obsession with the palace architecture and striving to return to a state of natural beauty where artificial adornment is completely obsolete.
And I maintain that while the text offers a profound warning against obsessive body consciousness, the phenomena of fashion, scientific souk, and physical adornment represent a natural, evolving expression of the human condition. The drive to beautify oneself reveals that our physical lives are inextricably linked to our search for meaning and comfort. We are souls navigating a dense physical world, and the way we present ourselves is a valid, creative response to the journey of those 84 births.
What we have found today is a fascinating point of convergence. Regardless of whether one views fashion as an anchor, pulling the soul down into the dirt, or as a creative sail helping it navigate the pressures of the material world, we both agree that the source material presents a profound challenge.
It really does.
It demands that we stop, look at the mechanisms of our own minds, and examine exactly why we value what we see in the mirror.
Absolutely. It takes something as mundane as getting dressed and elevates it to a question of cosmic significance.
Indeed. The next time you stand in front of that mirror, adjusting your collar or fixing your hair, you might find yourself asking a very different kind of question. Are you simply preparing the instrument for the day's music? Or are you the monarch who has forgotten the kingdom, entirely mesmerized by the paint on the walls? We'll leave you to form your own conclusion.